Welcome to Mac and Bleu, the cutting-edge podcast for the nation's builders, merging the realms of construction with exciting advancements in technology. Join us on a thrilling journey where we delve into the dynamic world of blockchain, AI, the metaverse, virtual and augmented reality, and their transformative impact on the industry. Our engaging discussions span a wide spectrum, covering not only construction, economic development, supply chain, and market segments, but also exploring the vibrant tapestry of diversity within the construction landscape. We shed light on the intersection of local politics and its profound influence on the construction sector, while championing the remarkable contributions of women and minorities in construction. For all things Mac and Bleu, head to www.macandbleu.com, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky. Now let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Mac and Bleu. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky, CEO and co-founder of Blue Wave. Today, I'm lucky enough to have James Smith. Sorry, I got to tell the joke. Before he is the Economic and Workforce Development Director for Pinal County. But we were joking before he got on. Do you pronounce it Pinal? So everyone in the audience, pronounce it any way you want. But for our official guest, it's Pinal County.
Pinal County.
Welcome, James.
Thanks.
Hey. Everyone's talking about your county and all the crazy things that are being built, developed, approved, disproved, whatever. Before we get into all of that and kind of your relationship and how you're advocating or not advocating for what's going on down there, I would love for the audience to get to know a little bit more about you. Like, how the hell did you ever get to this role? I mean, you've got some great successes, but if you don't mind, tell us where you grew up, kind of a little bit about maybe your education and kind of the transformative years of what got you to the utopian job you're in now.
Yeah. So originally from the Bay Area, grew up in San Jose, California, recovering Californian. Grew up in San Jose, California. Never intended to get into economic development necessarily.
Really?
Nobody does. We all talk about it in the industry. There's no degree. U of A does have some. Yeah, U of A does offer a regional development program that some economic developers have gone through, but the vast majority of us came about it a different way, whether it was marketing or, we were, political science, public administration, all those kinds of things. I actually was looking at the city management track when I was up in the Bay Area, but ended up going to work at San Jose Airport, and airports just kind of caught my attention. It was a fast-moving, interesting.
It's a petri dish in itself, right?
It is. It's like a little city. Yeah. You've got concessions, you've got police, you've got all the kind of aspects of a whole city running real estate, and so anyways, I got into business development at the airport, and just really was interested in that. And then my wife and we had our second child. Bay Area is just way too expensive. We were looking to get out of there, so ended up in Chandler for about 12 years in economic development.
Did you come because of the job?
No, actually, we just made up our mind we were going to move. Yeah, and then the job. So
you were
came
one
later.
of the early exiters.
Yeah, well, 06. We got here in 06. Yeah,
before the first crash.
Yeah. So great. Chandler was a great learning experience for economic development. Spent about 2.5 years in Fountain Hills as the economic development director, and then moved into this role about 1.5 years ago.
With Fountain Hills, I'm not name dropping, but were you working there when it was a Jay? Was Jay there when you were there?
Jay Schlum?
Yeah.
He had left as mayor before I got there.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but I know him well.
Yeah, I remember running into him early when I first got into the business here, and that's always just he kind of always stuck out with me from Fountain Hills.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit. Your tenure in Chandler though has some. Not to discount Fountain Hills, but let's go back to you were there quite a while.
Yeah.
You had some good success stories.
Absolutely.
Share.
A lot of Fortune 500 companies, obviously, people before me had created a great environment for business.
Okay.
And so worked on companies like Voya and Allstate and Wells Fargo and some Intel expansion. So a lot of Fortune 500 companies there that, I was part of those projects.
What was unique back then as far as what did the runway look like for you guys and gals in those years at Chandler versus what you're dealing with now?
So interesting, because I compare what's happening in Pinal County, and I think of the first people that came to scout out for Intel 40 or 50 years ago. They probably saw the same things that people see in Pinal County now. Not great roads out to the facilities. Nothing but vast desert. But it's a canvas that can be painted however you want. And you just think of what Intel meant to Chandler. I think 40 years from now, Pinal County, we'll be talking about what Lucid and what Procter & Gamble and what some of these other major companies that are locating there now, what they've meant to Pinal County and how they were a building block to the future.
So how long have you been in your role with Pinal now?
Just over a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in that in that short time period, drinking out of the fire hose is probably an understatement.
Yeah.
But what did you walk into? And then give us, and take some time with this, James, because this is where the audience really wants to know, all right, what are the stories? What are the things you can talk about? And then let's go into maybe a little bit of the struggles, and then let's kind of come back in kind of the holistic. Everyone's like, okay, there's the now, there's the struggles, and then there's, okay, what's the future look like?
Yeah.
Can we frame it that way?
Yeah, okay. Sure. So one of the things I kind of walked into was the possibility of this LG project,
right?
The battery factory. And so when I first got there were already folks working on that. A lot of people may not be aware that Queen Creek does have a portion of their town, the majority of it's in Maricopa County, but they do have part of their town is in Pinal County. So there's 4,100 acres that they had annexed and zoned for industrial uses. So LG, when I got there, was already looking at that. So just working on all of the different aspects of that project. So the workforce and partnerships with the community college so that they'll have the workforce they need, and a foreign trade zone, working with Queen Creek to help secure those approvals for a foreign trade zone. So just a lot of the different aspects of making that project come to fruition. So
take a break there, James. That foreign trade zone, for those people that don't understand that, help us all give us kind of how does that look? What does it mean?
So it facilitates being able to import raw materials and export in terms of when you pay taxes on those products, as well as if there is defects in the products, you don't pay on those. So there's some advantages there. The other major advantage of a foreign trade zone is you do get a reduced property tax levy.
Got it.
So that is a strong desire, but that can't be the driving force. So they have to be a company that is approved by Customs and Border Protection that they import and export goods.
We probably should go back a little bit, because you made me realize that a lot of people probably don't even realize where, because we get so fixated on cities that we lose sight of the county lines.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah.
So most people don't realize Pinal County actually has a strong presence in the East Valley Metroplex.
That's right.
Apache Junction, Santan, and Queen Creek all have portions in Pinal.
Yep.
Now, Florence is the county seat, is it not?
Correct.
So we have Florence, and then we go Eloy and Coolidge, correct?
Correct.
And is Casa Grande officially in Pinal?
Yes.
Okay.
And
now,
Maricopa as well.
And Maricopa. And then there's the border there between, in Maricopa, don't we get closer to bordering with not only Native American land, but then also back to Maricopa County, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so there's some weird lines in that area.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you look at the growth of Maricopa, Casa Grande, I mean, just that whole southern belt, if you take an east-west line, it's pretty powerful.
It's amazing.
Right.
And you're kind of forgetting we're the size of the state of Connecticut.
Right.
So it's a
lot of counties.
Yeah. Vast amount of area, but also Superior is in Pinal County as well, all the way down to Saddlebrook. So you're bordering Pima County all along.
But Marana is, I can't remember, Marana is not.
They have one little slice that's in Pinal County.
Okay, with all the development that's going on there, too. You guys must get influence there. Okay, so I don't even know where we were on our little mental agenda. I'm not even following the script here. So let's go back to that year and a half. What you walked into, what were the initiatives at that time a year and a half ago, and what are the key things you've been working on in that capacity?
So some of our strategic goals are to keep more of our residents working in the county.
Less commute times, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, yeah. Less stress on our roads, the need to build more and more roads, but also quality of life for our residents. I'll give you an example. So 80% of our county's residents leave our county every day to work.
Say that again.
80%.
I think a lot of them come to Phoenix proper.
Absolutely.
Or the metro.
And so in Maricopa, I believe it's 84%, but in Santan Valley, it's 90%. And so I like to say, well, if they were just going to the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport area, maybe there's a lot of jobs there. If they were just going there to work, that wouldn't be so bad. But fully 30% of those 90% are driving all the way to Phoenix. So they're looking at an hour and 10 to an hour and a half each way.
One way, wow.
Yeah. So it has really been a strategic goal of county management and our supervisors to keep more of our folks working in the county. And, I like to tell companies, we've got pent-up demand here. We've got a good workforce that's driving a long way every day. If you become an employer of choice, if you give them good options, I think they're going to want to work close to home.
Now, let's talk about some of the indicators or the, what am I trying to see? The data points. One is land is still somewhat affordable.
Correct.
We have to talk about water at some point because everyone, everything is contingent on water supply. You talked about the labor force, housing, schools, all those kind of things. Can you talk a little bit about how you are able to represent that in Pinal County versus fighting with Maricopa County or whatever? Just speak to it, James, any way you can.
Yeah. So as far as housing goes, we have been the fastest growing county in terms of growth and number of units.
Wow.
Percentage wise.
Is that single family, multifamily, build to rent, or everything?
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah, everything. And we're still about $100,000 less for a median home price than in Maricopa County.
$100,000.
Even though Pinal County's home prices have been going up, we're still about $100,000 less. So a lot of opportunity. And I feel like all of our communities are becoming more open to different options in housing. We need to get those attainable houses or housing for these jobs that we're creating, and our employers are telling us that that they've got thousands of jobs coming. We've got to have good options for them. So we're seeing more multifamily. In Casa Grande, there's some 3D printed houses happening. So
and we've had some of those people on as guests. So we know.
Great options. So we're seeing a lot more options as well. So housing is definitely a factor. We do have some really good school districts as well. So that I know that is it's one of the things that drove a lot of growth in Chandler. And I tell people all the time when I'm out talking, that's one of the things we can all work on, is making sure we've got good K-12 education. People want to, they want to live where they know their kids are going to be educated well, and decision makers want to know they're going to have a good workforce in the future, or they're not going to want to locate there.
I think one of the biggest things that the general populace would want to ask you, James, is like, how do you guys keep the balance? Okay, so hear me out.
Yeah.
What do you bring first? It's the chicken and egg thing. Okay, James, do we attract business first? Do we attract schools? Do we attract home? Like, how do you manage the chaos that is trying to manage development and growth? Or, maybe let's take parts of Casa Grande or maybe parts of Florence, or most importantly, I think here's a great beta. As you may or may not know, we had the guys from AJ on a while back.
Right.
The gentrification that's going on as far as like, hey, right, wrong, or indifferent, we're bulldozing or tearing down condominiums and building, more sustainable long-term things. I know that's not popular with everyone, but there is an economic and a demographic model that works.
Yeah.
How do you guys and gals that do what you do, how do you keep all that in balance?
That's a great question. I don't know if I have a great answer. I will say this.
Tell us, like, what goes through your day?
Yeah. So I will say this. In parts of Pinal County, the housing has already come. Maricopa, Santan Valley. Now I think we want to make sure that there's a balance where we have the right retail, entertainment, commercial, so those folks don't have to leave the area. And then in Santan Valley, I think LG is a great opportunity for those folks, a lot of those folks, to work closer to home. So in parts of the county, I feel like the residential came first. Now we're trying to catch up with the commercial and with the employment to add to the quality of life for everyone.
Okay.
In Casa Grande, I feel like in some cases, the jobs might be coming a little faster than the residential even. There's a lot of people that live there already, but there's going to need to be some additional residential.
Is it fair to say, though, that we're taking a somewhat, we're diluting agriculture a little bit and going more to tech and manufacturing and specifically anything related to the EV?
Yeah.
It seems like any EV related thing, or because of me and my industry, it seems like Casa Grande, I call it almost intermodal. When you look at the ability of the 8 corridor,
correct.
We have. Let's just. I'm gonna throw this out there because I still believe that I think this is part of it. Is that with our relationships with China and with the relationships with Mexico, northern Mexico is turning into the juggernaut of cheap manufacturing. Yep. We as Arizonans, we're capitalizing. Phoenix is the main economic hub that's connecting northern Mexico. Okay, Absolutely. Well, guess what's just south of us? Casa Grande. Yep. Casa Grande's the intersection of everything right now.
You're right.
And so you've got basically affordable land. You got access to human capital, a little bit more affordable housing, agreed. And now you take rail spur, you got highways, and even if you factor in the Pinal Air Park, which I know is a big development opportunity as well.
Absolutely.
Everyone's looking at, hey, can that be redone with all the regulatory things that are around there to how can we get, different flights coming in there with whether it's new produce, all those kind of things that have been developed. So you're kind of sitting on this juggernaut of this intersection of everything future.
Yep.
And so where I'm going with this is I think the manufacturing saw that and went, wow, bulk commodities can now come in on rail. Yep. We can produce stuff, and now we can distribute it both on trucks, rail. I mean, the only thing we don't have is ships. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
In the future.
Yeah. So I agree with everything you said. We market the county much the way you're describing. I would add that Eloy and Coolidge also are kind of part of that corridor along the I-10,
Agreed.
the I-8. So yeah, it extends a little further even than maybe you initially described. You're right about the supply chains from Mexico, especially in the automotive industry, is just, it's an incredible asset.
Well, James, is it fair to say, because you're into these, and if you can't talk about anything because of NDAs, that's fine, I understand, because I'm sure you see a lot of stuff that you can't share. But with all the EV-related auto, call it what you want, manufacturers that are relocating to your county, what is the affiliation with Northern Mexico? I mean, is that a tangible part of the conversation?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely. Those supply chains were part of the decision making.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, the rail, the connection between Phoenix and Tucson being kind of right in the center. One of the things you talked about the EV industry, but the semiconductor supply chain is really driving a lot of the announced growth in Casa Grande as well. And it really is kind of an extension. We're becoming kind of more of an extension of Maricopa County now, in that TSMC and Intel's expansion. That's $850 million in announced projects related to semiconductors and 550 jobs just in that industry alone. So because of our location and the access to rail and I would argue the Santan Freeway extending around South Mountain made that possible, because now they can get to TSMC much easier. May not have happened if that hadn't happened several years ago. So it underscores the importance of transportation and economic development.
Well, and I know we haven't released it yet, but by the time this interview comes out, the gentleman I had on last week with Howard Hughes Corporation, we actually talked about how, the I-11, as it's going to come out from, doesn't that come out from the other side of Casa Grande too, to go up around the complete west side and eventually connect with Vegas. So now your whole county is now going to be tied with a whole nother juggernaut now it's going to be Vegas to Phoenix to Mexico.
Yep.
Right. I mean, and let's be honest, that's no joke.
Yeah.
Right.
And, when you look at some of the regulations California's put in place on
hold it. We're going to go air quotes there. Some of the regulations. Try about all of the regulations.
But distribution and warehousing, I think, if I-11 happens soon, I think we've got a real opportunity to expand that industry.
The Inland Empire just basically relocated to Arizona. We already are seeing
right.
It is, not to be juxtaposed, but it will be interesting to see, are we going to hit a glass ceiling? I know I'm sure just like James, you guys talk, we in our industry, we talk like how long is it sustainable? Well, as long as companies keep coming here, supply, listen, demand creates supply and vice versa, right? Yep. So you just don't see it letting up anytime soon.
Yeah. You really see that with companies like Kohler and the semiconductor supply chain, how it's a snowball. They have other suppliers that they need, and we're seeing so much activity after they announce.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
Not to put you on the spot, but I was trying to connect two mental dots. I know that's hard for me as a Pollock, but just bear with me. You talked about, and I should have known this, in Pinal County, you're talking about the proximity to the mines. Do you deal with Freeport-McMoRan or any of those types of larger mining corporations? Because here's where I'm going. We all know it's been well documented that with the advent of everything with the EV space, basically we have Arizona, Canada, and Mexico are... Notice I said Arizona not as a country, but as a state.
Yeah.
We're down to maybe Nevada, Arizona, Canada, and Mexico as the preeminent Western Hemisphere places to mine for the materials that need to sustain that industry.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to be judge or jury, right, wrong, or indifferent. That ball, or as I say, that horse left the station, right? And so, where are you guys at in the county or in your role? Do you have those conversations too, or are you so limited on mining touching your periphery of the county that really isn't that big of a deal?
No, it is something that we're very interested in and realize the potential in the coming years. If we are going to move to electric vehicles and the solar applications, copper is absolutely essential. And so we're seeing the future investments that are coming.
Okay.
So the Resolution copper mine in Superior, they're waiting on their environmental approvals. But we expect, I don't know if you heard about the recent acquisition of 6,000 acres by Ivanhoe.
No, but can you share?
They recently purchased 6,000 acres west of Francisco Grande Resort, for those that may be familiar, that they're planning to do a new mine in that area. So with that, there's at least 4 active projects that are seeking additional environmental approvals and such to move forward. The Cactus Mine, for example, which is near the Maricopa-Casa Grande border, it's been shuttered since the 80s. But with
I know which one you're talking about.
With new technology, they're able to go back and find deposits that they didn't even know existed, 30,
cheaper
40
extraction
years ago.
And technologies.
Right. So that one, the Florence Copper Mine, they do a little different process by which they extract with liquid and extract the copper to the bottom of the pit. Not that I'm an expert in this, but they're moving forward as well. They're creating a couple hundred new jobs. The Resolution mine will be a huge one. tens of billions of dollars of investment. All told, we think that in the next decade or so, we'll see at least $70 billion in investment in mines and at least 2,300 new jobs.
Hold it.
70 billion and 2,300 new jobs.
In mines alone?
Yes.
In just your county?
Yes.
Okay. Plus how many of your peers in those other counties that have much more active mining than you? You're talking even bigger numbers.
Yeah, it's huge.
Okay.
This is huge for the state.
Yeah, I think that's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We got a ton of rocks to uncover, so I'm just going to keep firing that. Okay. By the way, you're doing great, James. Just keep them coming. Okay, let's talk solar.
Yeah.
You talked about solar farms.
Mm-hmm.
What's out there? What's coming? What organizations are you working with? Is it the APSs, SRPs? I always screwed up. What's the one? TEC, the Tucson one? I don't know if they come up to your domain or whatever, but what initiatives are out there with you guys on solar?
So one of the things that we're seeing is a lot of the Fortune 500 companies that are coming from the Bay Area are very interested in having carbon neutral power. And so we are seeing a lot of solar development in the county. Those are usually driven, by the individual cities. Haven't had a lot of experience in that.
But you're not working in like large federal rebate programs to do that. You know where I'm going with this.
Right, yeah.
So it really hasn't mixed like that yet?
No, not really.
More on the private side right now?
But SRP certainly has some solar applications in Pinal County.
Okay. Let's get to a tougher one, water. All right, James, I'm just being the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
How the hell can you do all this? You don't have enough water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's going to take everybody working together. We know that. I mean, there needs to be new sources. I think, Governor Ducey proposing the desal plant, whether that keeps moving forward. The bottom line is we're going to need new sources. But on the positive side, there's still water in Pinal County. There's still home sites that have assured water supplies that can move forward. There can still be development in Pinal County. The other thing is, they say Phoenix is using less water now than they did in 1957 because ag has gone away, and we're seeing less and less agriculture in Pinal County and a move towards residential and commercial. So,
and this has been a sensitive topic that I don't think will ever go away.
Yeah.
It's, you have the traditional farmers that have the water rights as they're deeded or whatever. And yet when you look, it's like, okay, at what price does the farmer sell for development versus doing it? And then you have the argument, well, were we meant to farm a desert? Well, guess what? You and I aren't judge or jury or God to determine that.
Sure.
But capitalism and everything kind of prevails, right?
Absolutely.
And you see a lot of these farmers that finally hit their threshold to going, with that number, I'm comfortable. See you later. Alfalfa is no longer viable, and we'll move on. And I don't think we're going to get away from that. I think there's a mix with everyone. Early on, I don't know if this was on this show or another show, but we talked, like you're probably familiar with what's happening in the Maricopa area. Their aquifers are actually full.
Yeah.
They're doing so much water conservation that they literally can't pump any gray water back into the aquifers. I love those success stories because then I tell people back in the Midwest that are challenging, where I came from, they're like, you guys can't do that. I'm like, well, actually, we are working together. We're working smarter. We're working harder to try to make sure these things. We know that the Colorado River cannot sustain us forever. Right. So we're trying to use technology and doing things. Like, let's be honest, there's technologies that convert, solar can convert to water just through, it's like everything. Give it time and give capitalism a chance to make it, bring it to market, and eventually it'll come. Right. But I don't know. So I guess I'm kind of being your advocate a little bit, James, is like, I'm not saying be reckless. I'm not saying let it all just go willy-nilly. But it seems like through development, ingenuity also comes. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's going to be new sources where we're continuing to reuse water. And to your point about using it willy-nilly, I feel like our communities have done a good job of picking and choosing the types of projects that they want to have. And it's kind of a balance. How many jobs does this create? How much capital investment? And then how much water? And if it's out of whack, they're kind of saying maybe this isn't best for our community.
Because you can't, no one, including you guys, you can't afford the black, the black check mark or the black eye.
Yeah.
If you, in other words, if you make an exception, because you guys get, let's be honest, in your world, especially in the big corporate game, some big companies want to come. They want all the concessions in the world, right?
Yeah.
They put a pretty big ask list together, and you guys have to do your job of saying, yeah, we can do a lot of these things, but you're not going to get everything for free either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we see examples that I think you and your peer group, and I know that you've got your buddies and your cohorts in other counties and other municipalities. You guys talk. You guys work together.
Absolutely.
So good. Hey, another one that always seems to come up for those that don't understand Pinal County is Florence. Florence is this anomaly. Kind of a bedroom community. People love it there. And yet when they drive through, everyone just sees prisons and jails, right? And you always get the question, well, I laugh because I'm like, I think Florence is wonderful. And it's safe, too. And everyone's like, I couldn't live there. It's Department of Corrections. I'm like, well, there's more than that. What can you speak about that kind of unfair bias about Florence?
Yeah, it is, and they have a neat downtown. They're working hard to. They have some city-owned properties in downtown, and they've worked hard to bring new businesses in there. It's kind of there's some for those people who haven't been there. There's some good restaurants and some neat places to see in Florence. But a lot of people don't realize that it abuts Santan Valley as well, and there will be thousands of new homes in that area in the coming years. The Eldorado Holdings has made a huge commitment to that area. So, probably another 4,000 homes in that northern part of Florence. So it is really growing fast.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Bleu, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Bleu to get it done right the first time.
Brings up the next question everyone wants to ask. James, okay, that's great. How are you going to get everyone to and from? So with your work with, let's call it ADOT, whatever, what are the plans to have connectivity in that area as far as what's happening in and around either the Florence Junction, the Gold Canyon connection, the Apache Junction? What do you guys all work? What's the big plan for all of you with those municipalities?
Yeah, so there is a plan for a 60 bypass at some point that would connect, that would bypass kind of the Gold Canyon area and connect. And then, the 24 extension has been a big boost, I think, for the Santan Valley and northern Florence area in terms of getting people to the 24, and then if they're going to
because you guys,
Phoenix,
you pick it up at Meridian, right? Isn't that, or is it
Ironwood?
Ironwood is the demarcation point. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we got? We got all sorts of stuff. What am I missing? Come on, hit me up. On that same token, we were talking about Florence. Have I heard that Coolidge, maybe Eloy's part of this, I think Coolidge has some things going on in trying to, clean up isn't the right word, but kind of revitalize their downtown and thoroughfare as well. Did I hear things to that nature, or am I missing something?
I'm probably not. I have not heard that.
Okay.
And
I might be making stuff up.
But it's very possible, but I have not heard about it.
Okay. Okay, so back to how we originally set the agenda, kind of the successes, some of the things you're facing. Now let's talk about the future. Okay, so as you sit down, you're just buried with all these current state of affairs with what you're doing. What are you guys looking at globally? What's 5 years from now, James? And what are those encumbrances or challenges that you're going to be faced with?
Yeah, so I think we want to try to capitalize on the industries that we already have here.
Okay.
Electric vehicles, certainly we want, Lucid. The county entered into an agreement with them to purchase some property that will be leased back to Lucid, and the goal is to get more of their suppliers there locally.
It's almost the same thing what Amazon did with City of Mesa then.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Google, not Amazon, sorry.
So we want to grow that supply chain in the electric vehicle area. Certainly LG was a big part of that. We want to capitalize on our strengths, the semiconductor supply chain. But I think we want to take it a step further. We'd like to see semiconductor manufacturing. We've seen what projects like TSMC and Intel can do. We want to see a manufacturer in Pinal County. So that's kind of the next step for us. And I think
you're hanging the carrot out there. Then.
Yeah. I think having the supply chain close by is certainly going to be of interest. So we want to grow that industry. Another area we've seen a lot of growth is building materials. Kohler is doing a plant in Casa Grande that will open this fall. But also in Eloy, you've got Gold Bond that builds or is making wallboard, and then Owens Corning opened a factory that had been closed for 30 or 40 years.
I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah, quietly a $9 million investment and 30 jobs or so. So just a lot of it's really capitalized on that transportation network. I think that you talked about. So building materials is another area I think we can grow, and warehouse distribution with what's happening in the Inland Empire. I think we will definitely see more of that in Pinal County as well.
You made me think of something else. What is the tie? Pinal County bordering Native American lands. What are the ties or the things that you guys have to get involved in with whether it's BIA or just maybe with the tribe directly? Are there any new any new workings going on there as far as that goes? Yeah,
I would just say they're a really good partner with us.
Yeah.
I mean, they are very supportive of Pinal County. For example, the Gila River Indian community gave us some funding to expand our economic development efforts this last year.
Nice.
Yeah, they provided some money for us to print our visitor's guide and an economic development profile. So really good partners with us. And the auction as well, very good partners. And I know that they are doing a lot of expansion of internet access on their
I heard that was a big initiative, to get out to the rural areas.
And so I think that helps with connectivity for all of us as well. So
now, do you border the Tohono O'odham on the south then? Or?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because I know there were a lot of things talked about with their nation as far as. I correct me if I'm wrong. They're one of the few that they don't have any gaming income coming in, so they're looking at other strategic partnerships because what they do have is unlimited land almost. Hell, they go all the way into Mexico, right?
Mm-hmm.
So trying to. I was just thinking about how I had looked at a deal maybe 7 years ago where they were actively involved on like a private partnership type thing where they were trying to bring industry there to help bring jobs and things into that on that periphery there. So I'll be interested to see if anything comes about because of all the things that you're bringing in there, if it can help them and vice versa. James, what am I forgetting to ask you? What do you want to tell everyone? I've tried to look under a bunch of rocks that I could think of, but what am I forgetting to bring up with what you're doing, what Pinal wants to do? Any messages you want to share?
I guess just that I feel like there's still people that don't up here in the valley that really still don't understand what a juggernaut Pinal County is becoming. And so just in the last 6 years or so, We've seen projects that will invest over this is aside from mining, $10.2 billion in investment and over 13,000 jobs. So there is a lot happening, and I'm constantly, I give people tours or show them what's happening, or when I do presentations, people are constantly shocked at how much growth is happening and everything that is happening in Pinal County. So I like to say in every corner of the county, whether it's Apache Junction with all the residential, whether it's Superior with the mining, Florence with new residential and their downtown, and Coolidge with Procter and Gamble and Nikola, Eloy with the building materials companies I've mentioned, Casa Grande, Maricopa is one of the fastest growing cities in the country right now. Every corner of and we haven't even talked about Pinal Air Park, but every corner of the county is seeing some kind of economic growth.
With that, so here's one we didn't uncover. How are you guys doing as a county just from jobs? I mean, it sounds like you guys have to be understaffed.
Yeah.
I mean, just being honest. Come on, James.
Well, our board of supervisors is very supportive of the county, and so we are constantly recruiting. We constantly have, like everyone else, we are seeking good folks to come work for us. But
come over.
Yeah. I mean, we're fighting that battle like everyone else.
So you're a busy man right now.
We are busy.
How? Just out of curiosity. How many people work with you, like in your department?
So we have one other person on the kind of the economic development side, and then I have workforce under me as well.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And so that is really a kind of an unsung area, or kind of an area that's really critical to economic development. Mm-hmm. And we've got a great workforce team. There's 4 people in workforce. And they do a great job. They've really kind of brought together the Board of Supervisors and the Workforce Development Board to really be in line and make sure that we are providing the best services we can to our employers. It's critical to economic development and to our future. And just to that point, our Board of Supervisors recently approved a job training reimbursement program for employers that are bringing high impact projects. So they're on board with this workforce. And then, one of the things that the county really got a lot of accolades for is the Drive 48 partnership. Have you heard a little bit about that?
Please share with the audience.
Yeah, so it's a partnership. It was with Casa Grande, the state.
So Drive 48.
Yeah.
Okay.
Casa Grande, the state, the Central Arizona College, and the county. And it was a facility that was built on the Central Arizona campus in Coolidge.
Yep.
And there's been over 2,000 Lucid employees that have trained there, that are training on the same kinds of robotics and same kind of equipment that they would use on the shop floor at Lucid.
Wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it's gotten national accolades for that. So the partnership between the county, the state, the city, and Lucid and the community college has really been a huge success, and we're looking to emulate that with LG. There's going to be a similar facility created on the Apache Junction campus. So replicating that success that we've seen, because workforce is so critical to our future, and it really helps to upskill our residents so that they're prepared for the jobs of the future.
Well, and like you said, back to the original initiative, if you can keep them closer to home. What were we talking about? Back to like I was telling you, the Howard Hughes Corporation, when they are doing that massive master plan community, Teravalis on the west side. That I thought that was a very intriguing data point that they were bringing out, is how much, and you coming from California, how appropriate, just the lost productivity in commuting, right? And we're building these communities now, or trying to develop and build these communities now where people aren't traveling as much. And with technology, why should we, right?
Right.
It just seems stupid. I'm just like, hold on, that old adage, we can put a man on the moon, yet we can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe you're helping, James, and your entire team in the county. So, no, good stuff. What do you do for fun? We got to know a little bit at the end here. We got to know a little bit more about James.
Well, so we love to travel.
You can't work all the time.
No. We love to travel.
Oh, good.
So we got a chance to go to Hawaii earlier this year, which was great. And then my son plays club baseball, so that keeps us busy on the weekends.
You're still one of those parents.
Yep. And we got to go to Cooperstown earlier this summer, and that was a lot of fun.
How cool is that? Well, unless you've got anything else, I just think you've done a great job of creating a nice high-level view of what's going on in Pinal County. I assume if this podcast interests people, they can get a hold of you. You're approachable on LinkedIn, or you guys have your active website.
Yep.
Again, thank you, James Smith, for coming on. It's great that you're telling us all about the county and what you guys are doing. I know we've had, like I said, some of your cohorts from other municipalities on, or even it seems like everywhere we look, there's another economic development type entity. But the theme is consistent, and that Arizona is growing, I think, for all the right reasons. It seems like there's a more concerted effort to do it right this time, so we don't get slapped like we did last time, in the Great Recession. So kudos to you and your cold fraternity and sorority of people, because it's fun to see what's happening in Arizona.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
You've been listening to the Mac and Blue Show, brought to you by Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the Mac and Blue podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow JJ Levinsky on LinkedIn and Instagram. Tune in every Monday